And the vamp refers to the leather that surrounds your foot. My name is Dustin Lau. I'm a fourth generation leather worker. I own Duck's Heritage Cowboy Boots. I made a slit earlier, and now it's given that boot top kind of a shape or a contour. And then you start fitting boots. Customers come in, they put on a pair of boots, and you know you got that fit perfect out of something that you created, out of something that you patterned out, you cut with your hand. No one's touched that boot. That's one of the good things about a one-man shop. When someone orders a pair of custom boots from you, they get to meet the maker, shake the maker, look the maker in the eye. You're the only one touching that boot. You know, I tell people, if you leave my shop and we're not friends, then I'm not doing my job the way I need to be. It's been said, I've heard it over and over, boot making is a dying art. Everyone and their brother wants to be a boot maker. So I think people will lose interest when they find out that this ain't easy. It probably took me about 100 pairs to say that I was comfortable saying that I was a craftsperson, I was a cowboy boot maker. My passion for this work comes from keeping a trade alive that very well could die, but I'm passionate about the craft. The trimming station, it has dedicated knives on it that can shape the shanks of the soles and just do some heavier duty cutting. It's the craziest thing. And we've got a shelf here full of leather components. We've got shelves over there full of rolled up leather, and my next pair of boots already exist. The next pair of boots that I'm making that I'll start on Monday, they already exist in this shop. Now it's up to me to make the patterns and to form all those separate pieces into a finished boot. Selecting a last to match up to the customer's measurements is one of the most important parts of sizing a boot. The term custom is typically used pretty loosely in cowboy boots, and there's only one thing that makes a boot truly custom, and that's a last that's sized to the customer. So the first thing I want to do to match the last up to the tracing of the customer's foot is heel to ball measurement, and that'll give me the length of the last. Once I'm matched up on that, then I'm going to take a heel measurement of the last and see if it matches or if it's close to what the customer's heel measurement is. In this case, it's within 1/8 of an inch. So I do have to alter some measuring to get this to match their sizing. The next thing I'm going to look at is the instep. So in my mind, the heel measurement and the instep measurement are the two most important measurements of the boot making process. Almost dead on this last. So this is the last that I've selected and the last that I do want to use, even though I have to do minor tweaking to it or maybe even adding to it to ensure that this last, when I build the boot around it, the boot's going to fit the customer. Our 2 feet even are different. So whenever I measure a customer, I typically find 1/8 to 1/4 inch difference throughout the measurements. I've measured hundreds of feet, and in probably 2 or 3 cases, I found where the 2 feet were a perfect match. So it's not unusual to have 2 different sized feet. And that is a cut vamp. It's going to make a real pretty pair of boots. I would brag on my boots, not against another maker's boots, but I'd brag on my boots against factory boots all day long. I'll take a 60 penny nail and I'll beat it flat, and that's what I use for my support shank. He rides oxbow stirrups. You could literally park a tank on top of one of these shanks, it won't bend it.
Calvin is a custom saddle maker. I asked Calvin specifically about boots. And he said, well, if you want to get good boots, he said, you need to go talk to my friend Dustin.
This girl came to me. She's got a collapsed arch. As her foot was healing, and it built a lump on the bottom of her foot.
My name is Niki Markham. Broke my foot in 2007 and went against doctor's orders. Didn't wear the boot that they put me in and wound up getting Charcot Foot, where my arch collapsed and I now have a rocker bottom on my foot.
After this happened, she couldn't wear cowboy boots. It was painful. She described it to me as if she were standing barefooted on a rock and she could feel this rock on the bottom of her foot.
I was fitted with a custom orthotic in 2007. I wore Nike tennis shoes and I had one pair of boots that was ill-fitting, but for the most part served the purpose. I was in constant pain because all of my weight was centered on that one small pressure point on the bottom of my foot. At the risk of sounding dramatic, I felt like I had no options. I was 24 years old when this happened, and I felt like I had no options for decent clothes because I couldn't put any decent shoes with it. I felt extremely limited to the point where I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to go to social functions because I felt my right foot was much bulkier than my left due to the orthotic having to be shoved down in a shoe that was not meant to have an orthotic.
So she asked if I could make her a pair of boots that fit. The growth on the bottom of her foot, I had no idea how I was going to accommodate that.
Dustin told me that his goal for my boots was to be as normal as possible with no zipper in the side, and he set to work on them. I was extremely excited about having something that looked normal, that wasn't bulky, that I could dress up or dress down, whatever I needed to do.
I did a process called a pedograph, where it's basically a stamp. She stands on a stamp and makes the impression of her foot. So I was able to locate exactly where that growth was at, but I did a build out. So I put the insole on the last and I wet formed the last around that spot on her foot. But that was going to transfer from the insole, it was going to transfer to the full sole, it was going to transfer, the shank was going to have to go around it. So I was going to have to start sanding a little bit of layers off the insole and a little bit off the full sole. What I wanted from the outside of the boot or from the bottom of the boot, you didn't see that buildup. And you could run your hand down the boot and there was a pocket in there. It just felt really weird.
I was extremely excited about the possibility of having something that was as close to normal as I'm ever going to get with this foot condition. It was really exciting when he finally called me and said, "Hey, they're ready. Why don't you come out to the shop and let's try them on?" Got to go out there and I took my uncomfortable shoes off and I pulled my new boot on and I was able to stand up pain-free. I mean, for the first time in a decade.
She came pick up the boots. She pulled them on. She started crying. "Is everything okay?" I said, what's hurting? And she said, "No, it's perfect." She said, "I haven't been able to walk around with a pair of cowboy boots in several years."
And then being able to stand up and be on my feet without pain, it's life-changing. To it have changed my life as much as it did, I feel like the cost of the boots was just nothing because the expertise is there. Like, he really knows what he's doing. So I love them because it's hard to describe what it's like to live in constant pain every day. And then to have that pain taken away, it's a huge thing. It's a humbling thing. And I've told him time and time and time again, you know, "Thank you so much. It's so amazing." And I always feel like that just falls flat. It's not enough because how do you say thank you for that? I don't talk a lot about my foot. I don't talk a lot about the pain it has caused over the years. I'll tell anybody and everybody about how quickly it went away as soon as I got something that accommodated my foot properly. He did a better job than the orthopedic doctors who had x-rays of my foot, who were able to do custom orthotics. What he has done trumped that a million times over. You know, they gave me something that was somewhat of a Band-Aid, whereas he cured it.
But that was a milestone. I'm like, okay, I can fit boots. Now I think I know what I'm doing. That was what did it for me. It was like, okay, I'd reached Jedi Knight level on that deal. And it was a real good feeling. So the cowboy boots should be unique. Everyone's got a unique personality, and your boots, sometimes they reflect your personality. This is the only pair of boots like this in the whole world. This guy, this is his 5th pair of boots. He has knowledge that he's got 5 pair of boots that no one else in the whole world owns. He takes pride in that. So my boots reflect the person's personality and their uniqueness. A pair of cowboy boots should be as unique as the person wearing them.